Kai is a below-average human who works for the Urza Foundation, and despite being too weak to actually do anything about it, he still wants to do everything he can to prevent another race war and maintain the peace of this world. One day, he finds a girl chained up on a sky platform, and from the way she looks, she's apparently half angel and half demon, and upon seeing him, she begs him to help free her. However, none of this makes sense to him since angels and demons have been at war with humans for a long time, yet she hasn't said even one racist insult towards him, so he knows something must be terribly wrong. Some time ago, Kai steps out of a car and uses a pair of binoculars to start his observation. Meanwhile, his teammates are sitting in the back of the car and they are bored out of their minds. They hate having to come out here and wait for Kai, but he always observes the graveyard for at least 100 seconds, so there's no way he'd stop in the middle of it. Centuries ago, there had been a long-standing war between the demons, the celestials, the spirits, mythical beasts, and humans, and the war causes a great deal of devastation. So Kai wants to make sure something like that never happens again. He is currently a part of the Urza Foundation, and he has an obligation to observe this graveyard, where the demons have been sealed away to make sure nothing goes wrong. After 5 minutes have passed, Kai puts his binoculars down and reports that no abnormalities have been spotted, so the demons are still properly sealed away. He heads back to the car and they all start heading back to base, but along the way, his teammate asks Kai why he needs to check the graveyard so often when no demons have managed to escape in the past century. Kai acknowledges that the graveyard is decently secure, but is part of their job as members of the Humanity Aegis Agency to make sure that the demons never get out. The girl understands his point, but the guy still complains that there are 3 other graveyard seals in the world, so their patrols are useless if they are only keeping track of this one. Kai assures him that the other graveyards are also being adequately monitored by other agents because humanity can't afford to let a demon get loose. So even if the world is currently at peace, Kai refuses to let his guard down. Back at the agency, Kai is doing some training with a mythical beast simulation. However, the system warns him that it is really dangerous for him to attempt to train with a simulation of this level, since he is certified trash. However, Kai ignores this warning and charges at the dragon before attempting to knock it off its feet. However, the system was right as his attack didn't even budge the dragon, so if this wasn't a simulation, he would have become dragon food. But luckily, Saki is there to turn it off before he gets hurt. She complains about Kai taking too many risks, but he justifies it by saying training is meant to be risky, otherwise he wouldn't be able to improve himself. With how hard Kai works, the girl jokes that his name would have gone down in history if he was around to fight in the War of the 5 Races. But unlike the prophet Sid, Kai knows he's not cut out for something like that. He honestly finds it hard to believe that a human could ever win against any of the heroes of the different races. They were immensely powerful warriors who led their races into battle. Vanessa of the demons, Alfreya of the celestials, Kyoko of the spirits, and Rathi of the mythical beasts. There's no telling what could have happened if those 4 were still around, but luckily, they were all defeated by the prophet Sid. However, that's just the story they've been told since there is no evidence that Sid or his golden sword even exists in the first place. The other heroes all have videos that prove that they were there, but strangely, there's nothing about Sid. Even with the lack of evidence though, people still like to believe that he exists because it is comforting. After that, Seki goes over to Ashran, who got knocked out by the dragon, and tells him to get up since they need to start thinking about their gift for Jin's promotion celebration. Ashran says they can just get her a bouquet of flowers or something, but Saki thinks that is too boring since everyone else will be getting flowers as well. Jin is getting transferred to the royal capital of Urzak for her exceptional abilities despite only being 17, so they need to get her a special gift for the occasion. Just then, Kai receives a message from Jin asking him to meet her tomorrow morning, and she specifically asks for this to be kept secret from Ashran and Saki, but they are already looking at the phone, so they start asking if he is dating Jin. And Kai doesn't want to answer any of their questions, so he just decides to run away. By the next morning, Kai is out waiting for Jin to arrive at their meeting spot, and she soon shows up, clearly having put a lot of effort into dressing up for the occasion. Kai is surprised that she actually showed up on time for once since normally he would end up having to wait at least an hour or so. Jin calls him rude for saying that, but she admits that she was extra careful to be on time for their date since she's going to be transferred soon. Just then, she notices that Kai is still in his uniform despite today being his day off, but that is just because Kai came here right after finishing his morning training, so he didn't have time to change. Kai is literally the only guy who would act so casual about going on shopping with her, but that's what she likes about him. The two of them proceed with the shopping, and while Jin is checking out some jewelry, Kai asks what the purpose of this shopping trip is, so she explains that she wants to get goodbye gifts for Saki and Ashran. She knows they are planning to get her a gift, so she wants to give them something in return before she goes since it might be the last time they ever see each other. Kai says she's exaggerating a bit since her transfer will only last 2 years, so she'll be back here in no time. But then, Ashran and Saki would have completed their service as soldiers, so they would be civilians at that point. In fact, in 2 years, Kai and Jean are probably going to be the only soldiers left with the human Aegis agency. Kai tries to cheer Jean up by reminding her that she's been working hard so she can take over as the head of Urzak after her father steps down. She's been dreaming about it since she was a kid, so she shouldn't be sad about getting closer to her dream. After that, they go on with their shopping and have a fun time with one another, so by the time they are done for the day, Jin thanks Kai for agreeing to come with her since he made the trip a lot easier for her. While waiting at a stoplight, Jean recalls the time Kai went into the graveyard at the age of 10. He was there with Jean's father, but somehow he ended up falling into the realm where the demons had been sealed. And at the bottom, he could clearly see the fabled golden sword that belonged to Sid, but he doesn't like talking about it since no one would believe it. It was after this that Kai began his mission to ensure that demons would never be unleashed upon the world again, and he still feels the same way now, which is why Jean knows he is still going to be a soldier by the time she gets back. And on that note, she asks Kai if it's possible for them to become more than just friends after she returns, but in the middle of her confession, since there are no fireworks to interrupt her, reality begins to collapse. For some reason, Kai is the only one that can see crazy stuff that's happening, and before he can process what's going on, something called the World Reincarnation Order is executed, and he opens his eyes to find himself in a destroyed version of the city. He is confused at first, but his confusion quickly turns to fear as he sees a demon come around the corner. As soon as the demon notices Kai, it immediately starts casting an attack spell to kill him, so Kai is forced to block it with his weapon case. He managed to survive that initial attack, but the demon isn't done yet as it begins to charge up a secondary attack, so Kai makes a run for his gun, and as soon as he gets to it, he loads some of his special bullets and uses them to cancel out the demon's magic. The demon is shocked that a human was able to cancel out its magic, but it's all because his bullets are made with elven magic as their base, so it is enough to counteract demon magic. The demon tries something different and begins casting a spell at his feet, but Kai managed to jump out of the way and close the distance before firing a point-blank shot that incinerates the demon. Kai is relieved that his plan works since that last bullet is made in order to reproduce the effect of a dragon's fire, but he has never actually gotten to use it before. This is also his first time fighting a demon, so he's glad he was able to move like he does during training. He just needs to hope he doesn't run into a dragon though. All of a sudden, Kai hears a voice coming from behind him, so he turns around and finds another demon staring at him and wondering how a filthy human could have possibly managed to defeat a demon. Kai raises his gun and asks why the demon is able to speak the human language if it detests humans so much, so the demon says he found it easier to order around his human slaves by speaking the language. Kai is shocked to learn that humans are slaves in this world, but the demon refuses to elaborate further and says it will get rid of Kai immediately since he seems pretty dangerous. The demon is about to fire a powerful spell at Kai, but at the last second, someone throws a flashbang, and while the demon is blinded, they pull Kai into a car and speed off. Inside, Kai is surprised to find out that the girl that saved him is actually Saki. Saki says she has never met him before, so she's not sure how he knows her name, and no matter how much Kai insists that they know each other, she still doesn't remember him, and neither does Ashran. Saki and Ashran assume Kai must be having a psychotic episode because of the demon attack, but he genuinely knows them and can't believe they've forgotten about him. He tries telling them that they were on the same team in the Humanity Aegis Agency, but Saki has never heard of the agency and says she's a soldier in the human resistance. Kai has no idea what Seki is talking about, so he asks them to explain what happened in this world. They tell Kai that in the War of the Five Races, humans ended up losing. 30 years ago, the other 4 races took over the world, so humanity was nearly eradicated. And the ones that did manage to survive were all forced to run and stay hidden. Kai is slowly starting to put the pieces together and realizes that this place is the city of Vashel after it had been destroyed. Kai is led down into an underground tunnel while Ashran explains to him that the cities all over the world have been claimed by the 4 other races, and they mostly fight among themselves to claim new territory now. This city in particular was taken over by the demons, which is why humans had to move underground in order to survive. They took some of the underground spaces that were still intact and remodeled them to become a safe haven for humans. This way, they can keep other humans safe and organize troops to fight back against the other races. Kai stops for a moment and asks why humanity lost the war, but Saki and Ashran think the answer is pretty obvious since no humans could possibly defeat a demon on their own, and on top of that, all the races have absurdly powerful heroes, so humans stood no chance. Kai is aware of how powerful demons and the other races are, but humanity was able to win in his timeline because of the prophet Sid, so he asks the 2 of them what happened to him. However, they've never heard of anyone by that name. Kai tries to explain that Sid is meant to be a human hero who defeats all the other races, But he obviously doesn't exist in this world, since humanity wouldn't be forced to live underground if they had someone like that to fight for them. Just then, they hear a commotion nearby, so Saki and Ashran realize that the main corp must be back, so they explain to Kai that there are many underground human cities around the world, and each one has their main corp that defends them. Here, the commander is the one who protects everyone, and Kai can't believe what he is seeing as the commander turns out to be Jin. Jin is greeted by Saki and Ashran, and they tell her about how they found Kai out on the surface, so they brought him inside. Jin compliments them on their good work and walks past Kai, showing no recognition whatsoever. Kai can't accept that Jin doesn't remember him, so he tries to remind her that they were literally shopping together a few minutes ago, but Jin has no recollection of this, so she says she's just going to leave. Before she goes, Kai asks why she's acting like a man when her dream was always to surpass her father as his daughter, and this statement makes her pause for a moment, but Kai is quickly stopped from saying anything more to her. That night, Kai spends his time looking through the records of this world, and everything is the same aside from the fact that all records involving him or the prophet Sid do not exist anymore. However, something still doesn't make sense to him, since if Sid never existed in this world to seal away the other races, then why do the graveyards he created still exist? To investigate, Kai heads over to the graveyard the next day and finds that the blockade stone that was meant to keep its seal has been removed, so he heads inside and discovers the golden sword of Sid inside. He walks up to it and grabs the sword, at which point he hears a voice telling him to never relinquish the sword, because it is the world coordinate key, otherwise known as the code holder. The sword then opens a gate which transports Kai to a mysterious platform, and upon climbing the stairs he finds the half-angel, half-demon girl chained up. This was the end of episode 1. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to not miss the next part.